After a Unum appeal, the only remaining option is to file a lawsuit against Unum if they've denied long-term disability benefits. And very scary and unknown territory for a claimant. For us, it's our second home because that's what we've been trained to do, is to go to court and deal with this. But it's an area where certainly a claimant has the right to file a lawsuit on their own, but it's never done, especially in federal court. So claimants have to rely on lawyers like us who do nothing but long-term disability insurance to file these lawsuits against Unum. And when you go up against Unum, you're going up against, which we've said many times, a multi-billion-dollar company. You're going up against a monster. Doesn't matter to us. I mean, we've gone against them all over the country. No one probably has had more lawsuits against them in the country than our law firm. So clearly we have the experience. It's not an issue, and the money is no issue whatsoever for us either to go up against. It doesn't matter how much they have. We'll spend whatever it is from our years of experience. So it's important for clients to know that, because we're not a 1 or 2 or 3 lawyer small shop that's just going to get snowballed, by Unum. At any given time, we have 50 to 100 cases pending against Unum. So this is routine work for us, and I think people really want to know that when they go, who are you guys? Who is this law firm? Do you really do this? You're not some freelance Social Security lawyer who happens to take a long-term disability claim. But this video, I really want to give people the expectations is what's going on in this lawsuit. How can I win this lawsuit? What is a win in a lawsuit? But I want to start with this. I'll start with you, Steve, in this one. ERISA lawsuits, especially against Unum or anything, is not the stuff that people see on TV. This is not the Suits show that's popular. This is not Law and Order. This is not the trials that we see of who's ever charged with a criminal thing or whatever. This is a completely different animal. Explain why, when you file a Unum lawsuit, it's not the typical trial that everyone thinks it is.
Yeah, well, you had touched upon it initially in that this is federal jurisdiction, so the lawsuits are filed in federal court. We just got done discussing recently about appeals. So after that appeal is denied, one of the important things to know is that your record closes. The claim filed by which the court is going to make a determination on, it's no longer at that point, no new information is allowed to come in. So if something new happened to you, you can't get that in for purposes of court. You don't get the right to a jury trial. It's only going to be a federal judge that's going to be reviewing. You don't testify. Your doctors don't testify. No one from the insurance company testifies. And a lot of times, the judges don't even want to hear from the attorneys. There's case dispositive briefs filed, and then the judges will sit on them and wait to make their decisions on it. So this idea of getting a day in court is something that doesn't exist. A lot of people that argue, I don't feel like I'm getting justice here, and you can't disagree with them. Even as hard as it can be get Social Security, at least one day you're going to be in front of an ALJ, and that judge is going to ask you questions. You're going to be able to tell your story. So this area is very kind of cold, methodical, and for all intents and purposes, the federal judge is like just doing an appeal review of the insurance company's review that they did. So I think people need to understand that. Now, the flip side of it, the unfairness of that, some people are hesitant to want to get involved in lawsuits because what they see on TV. Are they then going to follow me? Are they going to harass me, pull me in for depositions, my family, my friends, my business colleagues, all that? And I think one important thing for people to realize is that this area of the law, because of there's so much limitations in what's capable in court, for all intents and purposes, once a lawsuit is filed, there's nothing happening for the insured. Their doctors aren't going to get harassed. They're not going to get filed. There's nothing going on. It's just a lot of paperwork for us. So if someone is worried about the idea, should I pursue this? Should I continue to go? You've got nothing to lose. The stress of the fight is really only in the attorney.
So there are pros and cons to this ERISA. People talk about, ERISA is really bad, and you do give up certain rights like you talked about. There's no punitive damages, there's no extra contractual type thing. So Unum's like, if we lose, we just pay the benefits. The flip side is that, the claimant really doesn't have to do much. It's all on the lawyer. You get to present your case to a judge. Judge is someone who's appointed by the president, so it's not a willy-nilly, someone who got elected who doesn't really know anything. It's often someone who, more often than not, someone who's qualified, has a team of law clerks available and other lawyers to help them with this type of thing. But at the end of the day, Frank, when someone's selecting their lawyer to really, they are going to hear a lot. It's really hard. What makes our law firm unique? What puts us in a position that when we're sitting on the other, when our name is there and we're on the other side of the table filing this lawsuit and eventually get to a point where Unum's like, are we going to pay this or are we not? What is it about what we do that puts the claimant in the best position of any other law firm to really win their lawsuit?
I think first and foremost, you got to think about where you grew up. I hated a playground bully. I never saw a fight I didn't like. And a playground bully is how I look at insurance companies in an ERISA case. My acronym for ERISA, it's the Employment Retirement Income Security Act. Everything rotten invented since Adam. And your federal judge is appointed by the president. Reagan, Bush, Ford, another couple of Bushes, and we had Trump, Republican presidents. Good for people for taxes, not so good for consumer remedies. The Democrats that have been appointed have been much more consumer friendly to an insured like we're representing in an ERISA case. Second, your clerks, you mentioned, each of the federal judges gets 5 clerks for a year. The judge isn't reading through the evidence. They're not reading through the briefs. They're looking at what the clerk assigned to that ERISA case has outlined. So you're trying to convince a 21-year-old that someone's got cognitive impairment. What does a 21-year-old know about cognitive impairment or cancer or back problems? They've never suffered any of the kind of accident or injury or long-term sickness, chronic problems that our insureds do. Now, some of them have a mom, a sister, aunt, uncle, grandparent that's gone through those things. So remember, you're speaking to a different person the way you write your briefs in an ERISA case. You think that federal judge in Los Angeles, California doesn't know my middle initial? I filed more ERISA cases than anybody in Los Angeles. And that's a good thing for our clients. They know we're not a one-time tire kicker here to try and get a few cents on an ERISA case. We're here for the long haul. So pick your lawyer wisely. Pick somebody that, deep down, that's a fighter. That's who you want in your ERISA case, that's got the wherewithal. We're 16 lawyers. There's no other plaintiff firm in the United States that's got 16 lawyers to be able to approach an issue. A while back, chronic fatigue, carriers denied chronic fatigue willy-nilly. Just when after chronic fatigue, it wasn't a real sickness. Well, I filed every chronic fatigue case I could just to show the carrier it's a real sickness, it disables people, and you're not going to snuff them out sickness-wise. Injury-wise, some of the carriers don't like drug abuse or don't like those kinds of things. Well, people have afflictions and they've got problems. So we're a big firm and we're just as powerful as the lawyers that Unum will hire to defend the cases in federal court, but we're seasoned and we've been here a long time. Nobody longer, and nobody with a longer history of wins than us. So I want people to pick a warrior. Pick somebody that, if you were getting picked down the playground, who's going to take on that playground bully? I am. I never saw a fight I didn't like.
I want to draw you, Stephen, to what people can expect as a remedy in this, because, and Unum's unique. We've handled a lot of claims with them, and I mean thousands of claims with Unum, and so they know exactly who we are no matter where it is in the country. And with that comes different remedies that are available to claimants if once a lawsuit's filed. So talk about when we say to claimants and we advertise, we win 99% of our cases against Unum. What does that mean?
I mean, in the short, win is money, right? Securing money. You pursue the disability claim through denial in the appeal process and litigation for a financial outcome. Whether that win is actually going before the judge, filing the motions and the judge siding with you, or what's going to also happen during the course of litigation. There's going to be negotiations, there's going to be mediations. Unum is going to have their outside attorneys try to work some type of resolution. So it's also a matter of negotiating the best, settlement possible in it. I think another important thing that people need to realize under these ERISA cases, like you said, there's no extra contractuals or punitive damages. If you win in your court, and win in court, a judge sides with you, The only thing that Unum has to pay you is the unpaid benefits. There's nothing extra. Judge can't award future benefits or guarantee they won't deny you again. And even rights to having your attorney's fees paid are at the discretion of the court. If it'll happen, then how much? So Unum is in a situation where their worst day in court may be paying you just the money they owe you. In settlements, though, settlements are also going to contemplate not only the money they owe you, but the future value of the policies. So those lump sums are almost guaranteed to far outweigh what you could, get when you win in court. So this idea of a win is really the way I think is more of a recovery. Are we going to recover money for you and benefits through the judge deciding it, or securing a settlement with Unum during the process of the litigation?
And Frank, you've been to Unum's headquarters. I mean, many times, almost, a lot of times.
I heard they have a parking spot for them.
And you've earned that right to go there because of the respect, because they go, look, litigation's expensive. We could spend $100,000 on every case, defending every single one of your lawsuits, hundreds every year. Or we could sit down and we could talk about these cases as business to business, as adults. They don't want to spend millions of dollars every year. They know we're going to do it. We've proven it to them. So let's resolve the cases without having to extend the client going through a year to 2 years of litigation, and let's try to reach a resolution together. And if your client doesn't want to resolve the matter, we respect that. Then we'll do the dance. We'll go through everything and we'll both do what we have to do. But we're going to give you that opportunity because your firm has earned that to do that. And that's something very unique to our law firm, because we're cutting through the clutter. We're basically saying we don't have to fight every single case and crush each other. Let's have almost I don't want to call it a treaty, but maybe it is a treaty in a way. Let's have an understanding and try to get a resolution for your clients that's going to put more money in their pockets and save litigation for everybody, because between Unum and us, we have the experience to have a pretty good understanding of which way is the judge going to lean on this case. And we know enough to put the case in the best light for the claimant and to show Unum where's the weaknesses in your case, and we reach an agreement. But the client is the ultimate, we're the boat, they're the captain. We're going to give them advice and say, we can take you here, here's your chances, here's what it is. And if you don't want to settle a case, you don't have to settle a case. We're never going to shove a settlement down. Now, we'll tell someone, hey, you got a less than 2% chance of winning this case, I think you should settle. More often than not, we're telling the claimant, go the distance, we think you're going to win, and they want to settle because it's not our money, it's their money. When they put real dollars on the table, and now, Frank, I always tell you this, it's like roulette. What do you want, red or black? Because here's $100,000. If you roll the dice and win, you're going to get $100,000. If you lose, you're going to get nothing. What do you want to do?
Or 2 years from now, you'll get that loss in a different way. They're going to deny you again. People are shocked that they could win a case in court, and 2 years later, the claim could get denied again. Look, Unum hires excellent, terrific outside counsel, but none of them have done the number of cases that we have. None of them have approached $1 billion in returning settlements to our insured. And unfortunately in ERISA, it's all or nothing. So if you win, great. Your attorney fees, my attorney fees, are going to get paid. The insured's going to get interest on the back due benefits. But they go back on claim, subject to every month, proving that they're still disabled. If they lose, God forbid they lose, in some jurisdictions, the court has come after the insured, and now they've got to pay the attorney fees of Unum's counsel. And $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, that adds insult to a legitimate disabled insured. They can't get money from a turnip, but they've still got a judgment against them to reimburse for the attorney fees. And that's draconian. That's difficult.
Yeah, so in these cases, the way they're primarily handled is that unless the client gets money, we don't get paid unless the client's getting money. So we're all on the same team, except the client's calling the shots. The client makes the final decision. We put up all the money. If it costs thousands of dollars to litigate, and whatever it comes to, then the client makes the final decision. I mean, that's the bottom line. But we also pick and choose the cases we take, because there's a lot of people who call us and we tell them up front, if we accept your case, we're taking it because we think there's going to be money.
We're also dealing with Unum at the highest levels of the company. So I'm not dealing with some local claim person. I'm dealing with National Trial Counsel, with the directors themselves. And when we sit down to try and do that business to business conversation, it's a fair setting. They understand that, for us, we'd just as soon litigate and get a verdict. For them, they'd just as soon not have to pay outside counsel or pay our legal fees and then be on claim with an insured. So there's a significant advantage to the insured to have access and to have your lawyers, look, I don't want to deal with Daffy Duck. I keep saying it. I want to deal with Mickey, okay, or Minnie. I want to deal at the top of the heap. I don't want outside. I'd rather deal with the head lawyer of the company. And that's why for 35, I've been there once a month for 35 years.
Right.
So it's not new terrain for us.
Well, it's definitely a road, but it's a road that, what's nice is it can be done relatively quickly in all things considered, because a lawsuit is 2 years usually. And if you can get it done in a more expedient manner, clients are already at the point by the time they have to file a lawsuit on almost every set of circumstances, it's been a year from when they initially filed to the elimination period to an appeal to finally now, okay, I'm denied. They've gone a year without money. And so things need to move. And sometimes the clients are like, what's the quickest route you're going to get me to get money? Because I may not be able to pay my mortgage or my rent next month. So we understand that, and we want to push these things as fast as we can, but also not shortchange the clients. So if you're someone out there with a Unum disability denial, feel free to call Stephen, Frank, myself, any of our lawyers. No matter where you live in the country, we are available to assist you. We'll always provide you with a free consultation, and we look forward to the opportunity to speak with you.